these people that Trump has put forward to run different sectors of the government, he's suggesting them. They have to be signed off by the Senate, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we have a confirmation process here. So he nominates, and then they go through Senate hearings, and then we vote the nominees up or down.
And so how likely is it that somebody like RFK Jr. is actually going to be running these, or that DOGE is going to exist, things like that?
Well, DOGE is going to exist outside the government. So nothing else right there. Yeah, there. I mean, and I think it's interesting. Elon Musk, and he'll find people. He wants people with really high IQ, willing to work 80 hours a week. He'll probably make it work longer based on the book I've read about him. He wants them to work for free. So because he's Elon Musk, he'll probably find people. That's outside of government. You know, I've started contacting and talking to my Senate colleagues about Bobby's confirmation. I think most have a very open mind. I think they've got questions based on the lies being told about Bobby.
Yeah.
So I think many, hopefully most, enough, will have the same reaction that I've had to Bobby Kennedy once I met him. Found, first of all, he's a really good person, and he's really smart. And what he's telling us is the truth. I mean, he's the one that got, really proved that Fauci was lying to us when he said, oh, we got all kinds of studies showing that, the childhood vaccines have been tested against a true placebo. No, not one. So if Fauci is willing to lie to us about that, the biodistribution of the injection throughout the body, Pfizer knew that. They had a biodistribution study that Japanese regulators uncovered with the lipid nanoparticle. By the way, the lipid nanoparticle is designed to permeate difficult to permeate barriers, like the blood-brain barrier, like the
obviously.
So they knew, but it's going to stay right in the arm. It's going to do its work and then dissolve. Well, it's not real mRNA. It's modified. It's modified to not dissolve. And so now we know it circulates through the body. The only studies so far, length of time is at least 2 months and possibly more. And again, that's circulating through the body, concentrating things like the ovaries, other organs, turning those organs into a little manufacturing site for something that's toxic to the body. So when you're doing that and you express a spike protein, whether it's the heart, then the body attacks that. That's called inflammation. That's called myocarditis. If it's into your nerve cells, all the neurological symptoms we're seeing. We see DNA contamination could be causing some of these turbo cancers. And again, I'm not a doctor, not a medical expert, but the mechanism seems pretty straightforward in terms of exercising caution and really watching your safety surveillance systems, which they didn't do. They covered them up. They're still covering them up.
Ridiculous. I think a general rule for any new drug, particularly something that's injected, but anything you're putting in your body, is like, watch, right? If it just comes out immediately, they can't possibly have done long-term studies. There hasn't been enough time, period. Like, it was at least be that careful, right?
There's a different side of the coin here. Okay, part of the problem you have in drug manufacturing is it takes like a dozen, 10, 13 years to approve a drug and costs $1 billion. Okay, so that's a lot of money to develop a drug. That's why I championed right to try. So let individuals know. But again, that's why you need an honest broker. You need an agency that has high integrity. Okay, do some initial safety studies. You don't necessarily have to prove efficacy before something that looks pretty promising could be made available on a right to try basis. Let people make the decision. But boy, you have to monitor that. I mean, anybody taking something on a right to try has got to be filling out, and their doctors have to be filling out reports to the FDA. So track your disease. Track any kind of reaction you might have to that drug. Again, in the information age, this shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
And by the way, it wasn't. You had the VSAE system. Pretty darn good idea, quite honestly, if it would have been designed properly and if they wouldn't have buried the results. But the VSAE system was a voluntary app that 10 million Americans signed up for. And it reported any kind of adverse events. Now, it was very limited. They talked about, any kind of medical intervention, if you had to seek medical care for an adverse event, or if you, couldn't carry on with daily life, you had to miss work, you had to miss school, okay? And so 25% of the people that signed up for VSAE missed work. I mean, they had an adverse event that was strong enough that something happened in their life. I mean, they missed school, they missed work, they couldn't carry on their normal daily life. Almost 8%, I think it was 7.8%, sought medical care. And Aaron Siri had to sue for the results of that V-Safe. Again, they set this up. I mean, you had VAERS, which was screaming at him. You set up V-Safe specifically for the COVID injection, and then they buried the results. Aaron Siri had to sue them to reveal to the public what the V-Safe system was screaming at them. Again, 25% of people that took the shot, 25% of 10 million people, 2.5 million people basically, had a severe enough adverse event that they missed school or work. And 8%, almost 8% had to seek medical care. And our government buried that. Our government also buried, by the way, I just have my most recent letter to the agencies. They buried the fact that they knew about myocarditis in youth very early in 2021, and rather than publish that information or warn the public, they produced a 17-page document of talking points to talk around it. Again, I think Aaron Siri got that from FOIA, but those 17 pages are completely redacted. So I just sent an oversight letter demanding to see those pages, because now we know it exists, unredacted, because Congress is not subject to those redactions. But at the same time, we've been battling for, I think, over 3 years, trying to get Fauci's emails, the final, I think, 50 pages of Fauci's emails unredacted. I've been trying to get that for 3 years.
That's wild. Okay. So then can you describe exactly what it is you do? You said the Senate Oversight Committee, you head that?
Yeah, so I was chairman for 6 years of it's the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. So the Governmental Affairs, prior to 9/11, was strictly the Senate over. I timed out of that chairmanship. Now I'm ranking member of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. It's literally the most powerful investigatory body of the U.S. Senate. I have stronger subpoena power as chairman of this committee than I had as chairman of the full committee. Okay, so that again, I'm also on Finance Committee, I'm also on Budget Committee. So as a U.S. Senator, you're involved in all kinds of different committees. But as it relates to this, I've got some real ability now to investigate and demand answers and demand documents. Now, the question is, are they going to be honest with you and actually turn over the documents? Mm-hmm. You never, again, I'm not in the agencies. I have suggested that President Trump is going to need to appoint like a Secretary of Information Extraction.
That's ridiculous.
Somebody to get the deep state to, be honest and provide these documents. President Trump, switching subjects here, President Trump has said he's going to release the JFK assassination documents.
Yeah.
Does anybody really think the CIA or whoever the powers would be, the intel community, is actually going to give them all up? I have my doubts. I don't trust government. By the way, our founders didn't trust government. That's why we put in place systems of checks and balances so that we would be kind of fighting between the branches so that no branch would get so powerful as would impact our freedom. Well, those constitutional constraints went out the window many, many decades ago, and now as government grows, our freedoms are definitely being trampled on, as you know, not only in America, but look what happened in Canada.
Yeah.
The Freedom Convoy, those brave truckers. I mean, what Pierre Trudeau did there, what was happening in Australia. I mean, this is a global phenomenon.
Yeah, it's an insane time. Hopefully things are trending in the right direction. Did the results from the last election fill you with hope? Do you think he's actually going to be able to do what he says he's going to do? I know he wants to. Right.
Well, again, what gives me hope is literally the coalition that he and Bobby Kennedy helped assemble. And what that demonstrates. But I mean, you take a look at whether it's Bobby Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, who I don't think is particularly politically active, probably more of the left in general. That's what we need in this country. We need people who love this country, understand how rare and precious it truly is, and how it's our duty to make sure we save and preserve it for future generations. That wasn't happening. Our country was going down the tubes, under radical leftists government, which is what the Obama and the Biden administration was. So this is, ship of state is big, it's unwieldy, it's difficult to turn around. What we've done is we've changed directions. We're charting a new course, but we need to stay in that direction. We can't be ping-ponging back and forth between radical leftism and what I would consider just a common sense approach to respecting people's freedoms, understanding what the federal government is really designed to do. It's not here to solve all our problems. It's here to guarantee our freedom. Now, there are other, commerce, you have to set the rules for the road. Again, I think it's a very legitimate activity of government to establish some high integrity arbiters of science, of drug safety, food safety. I mean, that's a valuable role. But we don't need these agencies that are just massive, cranking out all these regulations that are crushing freedom. We need honest brokers.
Yeah, agreed. So you mentioned that DOGE wasn't going to be a government institution. I didn't know that. I thought that he was building something new that was within the government. DOGE is supposed to be an external organization that just...
Right.
How is it going to have any control over anything?
Well, it's the arena of ideas, right? If it comes up with good ideas, and by the way, we can't do anything here in Washington. I mean, you can jam some stuff through, but it's not going to last if he doesn't have the backing of the public. So you mentioned about my events. I mean, my events have always been designed. I've never proposed a piece of legislation after my events. My events have all been about exposing the truth, educating the public, opening up people's eyes.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to take. The beauty of what we found during COVID is once somebody's eyes have been opened to what is happening, to the capture, to the corruption, to the harm being caused by big government to individuals, they're not going to close their eyes. They just won't. So I think, I haven't really talked in detail to Bobby because he's been so darn busy, but I would love to really sit down and talk to him about surprised at how welcome he was to our side of the aisle. In that event, he said, I used to be a supervillain to him. Again, he listened to the news like most Americans do, and guys like me are caricatured. We are marginalized, demonized, we're villainized. Okay. So once Bobby actually met me and saw what I was trying to do, and he doesn't think I'm a supervillain anymore. So that's powerful. And again, Bobby Kennedy's right. Other Democrats have said this. I didn't leave the party left me. So those are generally the most valued partners into what I would consider the conservative movement. But that's what gives me hope, is that once people understand what's happened, they'll be dedicated to keep moving in the right direction. And the more that open their eyes, the stronger our coalition builds, and the more elections we can win, so we can keep our nation on the right path.